The night sky above Epsilon Ridge was a field of silver fire. Stars burned like frozen sparks above the endless white plains, and the air was so cold that even sound seemed to shiver before fading away. Commander Liam Hayes pulled his thermal jacket tighter, his breath turning to mist as he trudged across the snow. His shuttle lay behind him, half buried, half broken, and completely dead. The crash had knocked out the power core, the radio, and nearly his hope. He had tried all afternoon to send a distress signal, but the storm's interference made communication impossible. The temperature was dropping fast. He had one emergency tent, a small heater and a sleeping bag rated for extreme conditions. Still, even with that, he knew he wouldn't survive more than 2 nights without rescue. As Liam checked his wrist scanner, a faint signal blinked across the screen. Metallic anomaly detected 70 meters east. His heart jumped. Maybe a wrecked satellite? Or part of his ship's debris? Anything that might help him repair the transmitter. He followed the signal through the icy wind until he saw a faint blue glow under the snow. Brushing it away, he froze in surprise. It wasn't human technology. The shape was smooth and curved, made of a metal he didn't recognize. It looked alien. A cautious curiosity stirred inside him. He tapped the surface, and it was warm. He found a small opening like a hatch half crushed by impact. Inside, through a cracked window, he saw something. Or someone. It was a girl, pale and still, her body wrapped in a glowing silver suit. Her hair shimmered faintly like strands of moonlight, and her skin carried a soft blue tint. For a moment, Liam thought she was dead. Then the scanner beeped, faint heartbeat detected. His training screamed, "Don't interfere with unknown life forms." But another voice inside him, a human one, whispered louder, "She's alive. She needs help." He grabbed his survival knife and cut through the warped hatch. The cold air rushed in, and he carefully lifted her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, fragile, almost weightless. Her body was freezing cold, colder than the air itself. By the time he reached his tent, his hands were numb. He laid her inside, zipped the door shut against the wind, and turned on the heater. Still, the temperature inside was only slightly above freezing. He needed to share his heat, the only real warmth left. Liam unzipped his sleeping bag and carefully pulled her closer. She didn't resist, didn't move. He wrapped the bag around both of them, sealing it tight to keep the warmth inside. Her body felt like ice at first, but after a few minutes, he could feel a faint warmth returning. Hours passed in silence except for the distant howling of the storm. Liam stared at the tent's thin ceiling, thinking of the stars beyond it. "What are you?" he whispered softly, not expecting an answer. Then, as the heater flickered, she moved. Her eyes opened, large, luminous, and filled with soft light like liquid silver. She blinked, studying him without fear, only quiet curiosity. Liam froze. "Hey, easy. You're safe," he said gently. She tilted her head, her lips moving, forming sounds he didn't understand, melodic and slow, like music underwater. He raised a hand, pointing to himself. "Liam." She blinked, then hesitated before touching her chest lightly. "Ari," she said, the word barely a whisper. Liam smiled in surprise. "Ari, that's your name?" She didn't reply, but her faint nod was enough. Her voice had sounded almost human. For a while, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the wind outside and their slow breathing inside the shared warmth. He watched as color returned to her cheeks, faint blue fading to pale pink. Her hair glowed dimly under the tent light. Despite her strange appearance, there was something gentle, something deeply familiar about her. When Liam offered her a small water pouch, she took it carefully, sniffed it, then drank in small sips. Her hands trembled, not from fear but from cold. He noticed that her fingers had delicate, thin membranes between them. Not quite human, but beautiful in a way he couldn't describe. After a while, she began to hum softly, a gentle sound that filled the tent. The melody was unlike anything he had heard. It was calm, warm, and somehow comforting. The storm outside seemed to quiet down as if listening. Liam didn't understand the song, but he felt its meaning. Gratitude, maybe even peace. He smiled. "You sing beautifully," he said softly. She tilted her head, not understanding the words but returning his smile anyway. Hours passed. The storm outside raged, but inside the small tent, 2 beings from different worlds shared warmth and silence. At one point, She reached out and touched the emblem on his uniform, the small Earth symbol over his chest. "Oh man," she said carefully as if testing the sound. Liam's eyes widened. "Yes, human, that's me." He pointed at her. "Ari, alien?" She blinked, her face thoughtful. Then she shook her head slowly and said something that sounded like, "Not alien, friend." He didn't know how she understood that word, but when she said it, it made something inside him soften. Outside, the temperature dropped again. The wind screamed against the fabric of the tent. Liam could feel her shiver, so he pulled her a little closer, adjusting the sleeping bag. Her head rested lightly against his shoulder. She looked up at him with those glowing eyes that reflected not just light, but wonder. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other, neither human nor alien, just two lives trying to stay alive under the same stars. Liam broke the silence first. "I'll keep you safe." "I promise." She didn't understand, not completely, but somehow she seemed to feel his words. Her hand gently rested against his chest, where his heart beat strong and steady. She closed her eyes again and slowly drifted into sleep. Liam stayed awake, listening to her breathing, thinking of what had just happened. He had crashed on a distant planet, and instead of being alone, he had found someone from another world. He wondered what her world looked like. Did it have oceans, cities, families? Did she have people waiting for her just as he had on Earth? The heater gave a weak flicker, and he knew it wouldn't last much longer. The storm could continue for days. But strangely, he didn't feel afraid anymore. He looked at Ari, sleeping peacefully beside him, her soft light glowing faintly in the dark. Somehow she made the cold less cruel. "Maybe," he whispered to himself. "We're not so different after all." The night stretched on endlessly. Snow piled high outside, burying the crash sites of two ships from two worlds. Inside the tent, the warmth of shared life held strong, small, fragile, yet powerful enough to defy the freezing universe beyond. As Liam's eyelids grew heavy, he thought of the stars that had led explorers for centuries, the same stars now watching over him and this strange, kind being. Somewhere deep inside, he felt this meeting was not an accident. Maybe fate or the universe itself had chosen this frozen planet as the place where humanity's first real contact would be made. Not through war or science, but through compassion. He drifted into sleep with a faint smile, unaware that his life, and perhaps the fate of both their species, had just changed forever. Outside, the storm began to fade, leaving behind a still silence. Two heartbeats, one human, one alien, beat softly together under a shared sky, and for the first time on Epsilon Ridge, the stars seemed a little warmer. Morning came slowly on Epsilon Ridge, painting the frozen sky in pale light. The storm had passed, leaving behind deep silence and miles of untouched snow. Inside the small tent, Commander Liam Hayes stirred awake. For a moment, he didn't remember where he was. Only the faint sound of breathing beside him brought the memory back. He turned and saw Ari still asleep, her silver hair scattered across the sleeping bag like threads of starlight. Her face looked calm now, no longer cold or weak. The faint blue glow under her skin had softened to a gentle pulse, almost like the rhythm of a heartbeat. Liam sat quietly, not wanting to wake her. He checked his wrist scanner. The outside temperature was still deadly low, but at least the storm had ended. His transmitter battery showed a red light, 7% power left. He needed to fix the main beacon soon, or no rescue ship would ever find him. When Ari finally opened her eyes, she blinked slowly, confused by the bright morning light. Then she looked at Liam and smiled, a soft, small smile that somehow made the tent feel warmer. "Good morning," Liam said quietly, even though he knew she might not understand. She tilted her head, repeating softly, "Good morning." Liam blinked. She was learning how fast. He smiled back. "Yes, morning." He pointed to the sun outside the tent, then back to her. "Morning." Ari watched his gesture and nodded, repeating the sound again a little clearer. "Morning." Liam couldn't help but laugh. "You're a fast learner, Ari." She didn't understand the words, but she understood his tone. Her eyes brightened and she gave a soft sound, something between a giggle and a hum. After breakfast, a few heat packs of dry rations, Liam began checking his equipment. The crash had damaged the main communication array beyond easy repair. But maybe if he could find the right materials from the wreckage, he could boost the signal. Ari watched curiously as he worked, her eyes following every movement. When he used a wrench, she tilted her head. When he soldered a wire, she seemed fascinated by the small sparks. He noticed and smiled. "Do you want to help?" he asked, handing her a small metal panel. She took it carefully, studying its shape. Then, to his surprise, she tapped it twice, and it glowed faintly. Her skin emitted a gentle light that spread through the metal like an electric current. Liam's eyes widened. You can charge it?" Ari looked at him unsure, then said softly, "Light. Share." He stared in disbelief. Somehow she had powered the metal, using her own energy. It wasn't strong enough to run the beacon, but it was proof that her biology was different, maybe even advanced. "Light share," Liam repeated, smiling. "That's amazing, Ari." She smiled too, clearly pleased that he understood. Together, they spent hours collecting pieces from both crash sites. Liam's tools and Ari's strange energy made the work faster than he had hoped. Still, communication remained limited. Most of their talk was through gestures, looks, and simple words. But somehow that was enough. When Liam grew tired, Ari would hum again, the same soft tune she had sung the night before. He didn't know what it meant, but it made his heart feel calm. In return, he tried teaching her more English words. He pointed to objects. Snow, star, cold, warm. She repeated them carefully, her voice gentle and musical. Then she pointed to him. "Human," she said proudly. He nodded, smiling. "Yes, human." Then she touched her chest. "Ari." "Right," he said, laughing softly. "Ari." She paused for a moment, then pointed at both of them and said slowly, "Friends." Liam froze. She had remembered the word she said last night. He smiled, touched by her effort. "Yes," he said softly. "Friends." It was a simple word, but it carried a feeling he couldn't explain. By the third day, the temperature had dropped even lower. The food packs were almost gone, and the heater had little energy left. Liam's repaired beacon now blinked a steady green light, ready to send. But he wasn't sure how strong the signal would be. While he worked on the final calibration, Ari stood outside, scanning the horizon with her glowing eyes. She moved gracefully, her thin suit reflecting the pale sunlight. Suddenly she turned and called softly, "Liam!" He looked up in surprise. It was the first time she had spoken his name clearly. "What is it?" he asked, stepping outside. She pointed toward the north, a trail of faint smoke rising from behind a ridge. Liam's heart jumped. That could be my supply pod. He checked his wrist scanner, a metallic reading moving slowly with the wind. If we can reach it, maybe there's food or better equipment. He quickly packed his things, and together they began the long walk across the frozen field. The wind was sharp, slicing through the layers of his suit, but Ari seemed unaffected. When he stumbled on the icy ground, she reached out and caught his arm, strong, steady. Her skin was cold but not unpleasant. As they climbed the ridge, Liam noticed how she often looked up at the sky. Her expression was distant, thoughtful, almost sad. He guessed she was searching for her own people. Maybe she had been stranded too, just like him. When they finally reached the crash site, it was indeed the supply pod, broken but still intact. Inside were sealed food packs, oxygen tanks, and a stronger power cell. Liam felt a wave of relief. "Yes," he shouted, raising his fist. "We can survive another week." Ari laughed softly, not understanding all his words but sharing his joy. They worked together again, she lifting heavy pieces easily with her strange strength, he connecting the power cell to his beacon. The signal now pulsed bright blue. "This should reach orbit," Liam said. "Rescue ships will pick it up." Ari tilted her head, then looked at him quietly. "Rescue means you go?" she asked slowly, forming the words with care. Liam's smile faded. "Yes," he said softly. "Rescue means I go home." Her eyes dropped to the snow. She didn't speak, only stood there, her glow dimming a little. He wanted to say something comforting but didn't know how. They had known each other for only a few days, yet he already felt a connection deeper than words. They returned to the tent in silence as night fell. The wind rose again, whispering across the empty plains. Inside, Liam checked the beacon. The signal was steady. All they could do now was wait. That night, as they shared the sleeping bag again, Ari seemed restless. Her eyes were open, watching the small flicker of the heater's light. "Cold?" Liam asked softly. She shook her head. "No cold." Then she hesitated and said, "Tomorrow." "You go?" Liam sighed. "If they find the signal, yes. They'll come for me." She was quiet for a long time. Then she said something in her own language, soft, almost a whisper. He didn't understand, but it sounded sad. He gently placed a hand over hers.
"Ari, you saved me, you know that?"
She looked up, confused. He pointed to himself. "Liam alive. Because Ari." She blinked, then smiled faintly. "Liam, strong." She touched his chest where his heart was beating. "He-Man, a strong spirit." Liam felt his throat tighten. Her words, though broken, carried so much meaning. For a while, they simply listened to the wind. Then Ari spoke again, softly. "When you go, stars remember." He frowned slightly. "Stars remember?" She nodded. "You see sky. You think of Ari, stars remember." Liam smiled, touched. "I'll remember." "I promise." The heater flickered and went out, but they didn't notice. Their shared warmth was enough. Ari leaned closer, resting her head lightly against his shoulder. "Friend," she whispered again. Liam closed his eyes, whispering back, "Friend." Outside, the first rescue signal blinked faintly across the snow, a distant promise of hope. But inside that small tent, two souls from different worlds had already found something greater than survival. They had found understanding. The morning light was soft and cold over Epsilon Ridge, brushing the endless snow in pale silver. Commander Liam Hayes woke slowly, feeling the quiet tension in the air. Today might be the day rescue arrived. He could feel it, a faint vibration in his repaired beacon, pulsing steadily. Ari was already awake, sitting outside the tent and scanning the horizon with her glowing eyes. Liam watched her for a moment. She seemed more distant than before, almost thoughtful, as if she were trying to remember something lost. He stepped outside, pulling his thermal jacket tight. "Morning," he said softly. She looked at him, nodded, and returned the greeting in her musical, soft voice. "Morning." Liam walked over and handed her a small ration pack. She accepted it with a gentle smile, then tilted her head toward the beacon. "It works," he said, pride in his voice. "The rescue ships should be able to find me now." Ari's glow dimmed slightly, and she murmured something in her language. Liam didn't understand the words, but the tone carried worry. "Yeah, I know," he said, kneeling beside her. "It means I go home. I'll leave this planet." Her eyes lowered to the snow, then back at him. She reached out, touching his chest where his heart beat strong. Her touch was cool but comforting. "You remember," she whispered in English, hesitating. "Stars remember, friend, always." Liam felt warmth flood through him. Her words, though simple, held meaning deeper than anything he had learned in years of training. Stars remember. It was as if the universe itself had marked their bond. He smiled and nodded. "I'll remember, Ari. I promise." She leaned lightly against him, her soft hum filling the air, the same melody she had sung the first night. It was peaceful, almost magical, and for a moment the cold world of Epsilon Ridge seemed like a home instead of a frozen trap. By mid-morning, the faint hum of engines reached them across the snow. Liam looked up and saw the first rescue ship descending, its lights cutting through the blue-white landscape. Relief washed over him. "They're here," he said softly. Ari's eyes widened, and for the first time she seemed afraid. Liam knelt and took her hands gently. "It's okay. They're here to help me, not you." She tilted her head, unsure, but her glow brightened slightly. Liam stood, giving her a reassuring nod. "I won't forget you. I promise." The rescue team landed quickly. Soldiers and medics rushed out, scanning the area. They spotted Liam first. "Commander Hayes." "Are you okay?" one shouted. "I'm fine," Liam replied, smiling. But his eyes searched the snow for Ari. She had already stepped back into the shadows, cautious and quiet. One of the medics approached, asking about the alien craft. Liam explained quickly, but the soldiers were more interested in him than the strange being who had saved his life. "Did anyone else survive?" a medic asked. Liam shook his head. "Just me, and—" He glanced at Ari, who now stood a few meters away, glowing faintly. The medics looked puzzled. "Who is that?" "She's a friend," Liam said simply. She helped me survive. Ari tilted her head and repeated softly, "Friend?" The soldiers exchanged confused looks, but Liam didn't care. Words weren't needed. She had saved his life, and in that moment, she was more than anything else, more than rescue or protocol or human rules. The medics prepared to lift Liam into the rescue ship. He turned back to Ari, who had stepped a little closer. "You don't have to follow me," he said softly. "Your home, your world, is out there." She shook her head slowly. "Not home," she said in broken English. Then she hesitated, looking down at the snow. "Friend, stay?" Liam knelt and placed his hand on hers. "I'll come back," he said. "I'll find a way." Her eyes glimmered with hope. She whispered something faintly in her own language, almost like a song. Liam didn't understand the words, but the meaning was clear. She would wait. She believed him. The wind picked up again, swirling around them, but in the small circle of light and warmth between them, time seemed to pause. Finally, the medics gestured. "Commander, we need to go!" Liam nodded, standing. He took one last look at Ari. "Remember, the stars remember," he said softly. She repeated it, her glowing eyes shining. With a gentle bow, he climbed into the rescue ship. Ari stayed on the ridge, watching as it lifted off the snowy plains. Her glow dimmed as the ship rose, but a small, steady light remained in her eyes, the light of memory, friendship, and trust. Back on the rescue ship, Liam leaned against the cold metal wall. His heart was full of conflicting feelings, relief, sorrow, and hope. He thought of Ari's words, the ones he hadn't fully understood the first time she whispered them in the tent. Stars remember. He remembered how she had touched his chest, how her glow had warmed the cold nights, and how her melody had filled silence with life. He realized then that survival wasn't just about staying alive. It was about the connections you made, even across worlds. For the first time, he understood that humanity's greatest strength was not technology or weapons or knowledge. It was their spirit, their ability to care for others, even those completely different from themselves. Liam pressed a small recorder to his chest, speaking softly. "This is Commander Liam Hayes. I don't know if anyone will understand this message, but I need to record it. Today I met someone who changed my life, an alien being named Ari. She taught me that connection can exist beyond language, beyond worlds, and beyond species. Humanity's light isn't just in our courage, but in our hearts." Days passed during the journey back to Earth. Liam tried to decode Ari's language, writing down her words and symbols. He worked tirelessly, hoping that one day he could understand the full meaning of her final whisper. Finally, a breakthrough came. The words she had whispered in the sleeping bag, the ones that haunted him every night, could be translated. "Your kind carries light, where stars have gone dark." Liam's chest swelled. She had seen something in humans, something unique. To her, humanity was not just a species. It was a force of hope, a beacon in the darkness of the universe. He smiled softly, thinking of the nights on Epsilon Ridge, the shared warmth, and the trust between them. Her words were not just a memory. They were a gift, a reminder of why humans were capable of greatness. Upon returning to Earth, Liam gave his official report. Scientists and officials were fascinated by the alien encounter, but most of them focused on the technology, the ship, and the biology. Liam, however, remembered only one thing: Ari. He dedicated months to studying alien communication, translating her symbols, and recording every memory from that frozen planet. And though no one else could see her, her influence guided every decision he made. When he looked up at the night sky, Liam saw the stars differently. He remembered her glowing eyes, her gentle voice, her belief in him, and he realized something that would stay with him forever. The universe might be vast and cold, but small acts of kindness, sharing warmth, offering friendship, and believing in others, could light up the darkest places. He thought of Ari every night, whispering to himself the words she had spoken. "Stars remember. Your kind carries light where stars have gone dark." In time, he would return to the stars, seeking her, seeking the world where light and hope still lived, even in the coldest, most distant places. And though she had left him, her presence lingered, a whisper in the wind, a glow in the night, a memory that would never fade. Humanity had a friend among the stars, and he would never forget her, because sometimes survival isn't just about living. It's about touching another soul across galaxies, leaving an echo that lasts forever. And Ari's whisper, soft, musical, and eternal, had become that echo for him. The universe was vast, endless, and mysterious, but for Liam it had never felt more full of hope.